What's up, y'all? It's Poppin' What's Cracking. It's Steve Boss here. React to this video by Tommy NFG. It's titled Biggest Beefs of All Time. Alright, let's see what he has on here. Let's watch.
Beefs have been an established thing since cavemen walked this earth. If a caveman took another caveman's stick, a beef was established and tribes fought for thousands of years. And for the year of 2024, I think we can't deny that this was the year of beefs. The amount of beefs that happened this year probably won't happen again until the next 100 years. And who else to start with other than
Drake and Kendrick? The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylums.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Now. Election season is over and all, thank God. But looking back at it, I swear, I've never seen two politicians that hated each other so much like Trump and Biden do. And I don't think we'll get another politician beef like these two ever. I think Trump changed the politician game by calling anyone who's against him a random bad nickname. Sleepy Joe, Crooked Joe, Lion Kamala. Meanwhile, Biden's called Trump every terrible nickname he could think of. Clown, liar, loser. He even wants to get freaky with him.
Agreement, but I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
Hey, yo, what the fuck? Honestly, the reason I think this election was so serious for people is because these were beefing like boxers do. I didn't even know politicians hated each other this much until these two. They made it so personal, it sounded like the world was gonna end at the end of this whole thing. People acted like this was the first election and last election ever and we never had elections before this. And yes, you can replace Biden with Kamala, same thing, but they both literally said if you vote for the other side, you're voting against the American people. So who's really for the American people if both of y'all are saying it? Like, this really makes no sense. Someone's gotta be lying here. I honestly think at the end of the day, all these politicians are secretly friends. Because if you even look back at in 2016 when Trump and Hillary were going against each other, there's like multiple videos of Trump saying Hillary Clinton's a great person and a terrific woman. He even invited her to his wedding back in the day. But as soon as he started running, and a terrific woman, he even invited
cheesing and being firm.
her to his wedding back in the day. But as soon as he started running, it was GG's to all that history. It's crazy how they both called each other out on their main flaws too. Trump calling Biden mentally unfit, Biden calling Trump morally unfit, and if we're being honest, they're both right in their ways to a certain extent. It takes this man Biden all his might to put together a fraction of a sentence, and Trump got like 10 new scandals every day, bro. Their beef was so serious that Biden basically reversed all the changes Trump made as soon as he got in office. He made over 14 plus changes to Trump's signed in law policies. And the one change that probably got him the most mad is he halted the building of the border wall. If there's only one reason that he hates him, that'll be the one. To me, the American political system is so stupid because now that Trump's elected, he's just gonna put the old policies back in. So like nothing is really permanent for real. We just go back and forth for something we'll never all universally agree that we like. And ever since Kamala started running instead of Joe, it seems like they've started to become friends. This man Biden was smiling and giggling in every picture with Trump. I thought you were supposed to hate him, dog. What happened? You know, maybe the election was just the friends we made along the way. I feel like that's a good assessment. Next, we got Kendrick versus Drake. I don't think anyone knew what this beef was gonna turn into when it first happened. Like, how the did it go from the big three, nigga, it's just Big Me, to an entire lawsuit that might be the biggest record label lawsuit ever? I don't know how many people even know this lawsuit is going on, but it's actually way more complicated than just Drake suing Kendrick. The word on the street is both Drake and Kendrick's record labels are under Universal Music Group, who owns basically every record label. Is this list not insane? They own every artist you listen to. UMG owns you, bro. Anyways, Drake was in talks with Universal Music Group to get a new contract because he made them a lot of money. And then the beef started between him and Kendrick. So he's suing Universal Music Group because he thinks they helped Kendrick win the beef so he could get less money for his contract. Which I don't know how confident Drizzy is in this lawsuit because Not Like Us was played everywhere. I saw it played at people's graduations, weddings, funerals. But if this is true, this is gonna be the craziest revolution of all time in media. The amount of people involved in this beef too was crazy when you think about it. I would never think someone like The Weeknd would somehow be involved in a rap beef. But somehow Drake has made so many enemies he got involved in it. Which is why I'd be confused on the Drake and meat gobblers who still be defending him to his core. Like, are you not gonna acknowledge that Drake has started any of these feuds and done bad things? I can understand in a beef like Drake and Kanye, who have both done f***ed up to each other. But with someone like The Weeknd, Drake literally took half his album, quoted by The Weeknd himself, and used it for Take Care, which is supposed to be Drake's all-time classic. Like, can we even call this a classic anymore if he barely even worked on the album? And then I want the Drake meat gobblers to explain what his point of dissing Serena Williams' husband was for. Yes, if you don't know, Drake dissed Serena Williams' husband, calling him a groupie. Ironic for the that acts like a groupie. The only possibility of why he would diss him was because he was dating her in the past and lost her. So like a jealous ex, he had to spin back and talk on them. And I see people now talking about, is there ever a chance for them to make up and become friends again in the future? Some people think we live in a Disney fairy tale. Like this Kendrick called him a
y'all some snitches, by the way. This reminds me. And you know what? This is why I'm not saying nothing about nobody again. Somebody sent me a clip not too long ago. I guess at one point when I was reacting to something flight related, and he was doing that little tongue shit, I did say that flight tongue game must go crazy. It was a joke. It was just a joke, okay? It was supposed to be between us, you know, and keep it in the family, in the household. But one of y'all snitch ass niggas clipped it, sent it to his Reddit or his chat or wherever y'all sent it, and then he reacted to it. And somebody sent me that clip of that reaction. Y'all are not to be trusted. There are spies that have infiltrated this community. I don't fucking appreciate it. All right. So apparently, I gotta be careful what I say. It was a joke. It was just a joke. I don't look at flight like that. Like I'm not trying to actually like. It was not giving none of that. It was just a lighthearted type of thing. And now this man has seen that because one of y'all is a snitch. And now y'all got me out here looking crazy and thirsty, like I'm, like I'm out here. I hate people, so I gotta keep some shit to myself apparently. So there's that. I'm just gonna shut the fuck up.
Yeah, file with Drake.
You can't even crack jokes no more. Jeez.
And now Kendrick's about to potentially perform Not Like Us at the Super Bowl, calling him a PDF file in front of the entire world. So I think I could say in no universe will they ever be friends again. Next we got two countries, North Korea versus South Korea. There was a moment in time where instead of just being called North Korea and South Korea, it was called Korea. And both countries actually...
I mean, now we just call South Korea, Korea. Okay, we don't even acknowledge the North side, the North. Okay, we just say Korea. We say Korea. You know, we talking about South Korea.
Aren't that old. They separated into their own states in 1948. They should just coexist with each other. They have the same problems. Low birth rates, old people, natural disasters. But only South Korea gave us Samsung, so shout out South Korea for the monitor I'm using to make this video. Everyone lived at peace, of course, until World War II, where the two countries who like to meddle into everyone's business ruined it. Russia and the US. North Korea took Russia and the Soviet Union side, while South Korea took the United States side. And one side was right clearly because I wouldn't have my monitor or washing machines without it. Shout out to USA. But when the countries split between each other, usually they split on peaceful terms and promised to leave each other alone. Yeah, for North Korea and South Korea, it was the complete opposite. They signed a deal to temporarily stop fighting, but not permanently, which is why they're still at war all the time. The amount of stuff each country has done to each other too is petty as hell. I'm not talking about just the missiles they send to each other all the time. They do the littlest just to piss each other off a bit more. You know how when you're arguing with someone and they start mocking you just to be a nuisance? That's North and South Korea all the time. South Korea has speakers facing North Korea to blast propaganda at its citizens, which is things like news about how bad North Korea really is, messages towards the soldiers telling them to switch sides, and K-pop music. I say propaganda lightly because what North Korea considers propaganda is just freedom. But for some reason, Kim really hates K-pop music. He executed one of his citizens for being caught listening to it, and anyone that does can also be executed. It's an official law there that if you're caught with any South Korean media, you face heavy penalties. And heavy penalties is probably the luckiest thing you could get. They never even watched Squid Game. They don't know the second season is coming out. That must suck. South Korea also sends balloons of things that are propaganda, like anti-regime leaflets. They get so petty, though, that they send USBs with South Korean dramas trying to get people from there to watch it. I can't tell if this is a good or bad thing, because maybe it's good to try and show them their media and have them realize North Korean movies are dog. But at the same time, if they get caught with it, they definitely getting publicly executed. So maybe that isn't the best plan from South Korea. They also send dollar bills into North Korea, which I really don't think will do anything. South Korea also set up a huge Christmas tree near the North Korean border so it's visible to the people there. Because, you know, North Korea doesn't have Christmas there, or... Actually, does North Korea have any holidays? Oh, they have a Mother's Day. Well, that's wholesome. But 2 days later is... Missile Industry Day. An entire day dedicated to a missile they launched. Seems wholesome enough to put next to Mother's Day. Eventually, South Korea took down the Christmas tree because North Korea called it psychological warfare. The funniest one to me, though, is North Korea made up lies about the former South Korean president and said things like he's a cannibal. Kim must think his citizens lack common sense because what world leader that's a cannibal would get elected in any society? Even the brainwashed North Korean citizens aren't that brainwashed. Next, we got Michael Jackson versus Sony. Now, you've all probably heard about this beef by now, or the rumor that Sony was the one to Michael Jackson. Michael was walking around with signs all the time on Sony and its CEO. And this all started when Michael signed a deal with Sony in the 90s. He owned half of Sony's catalog, which is insane because Sony owns so much music. We're talking like thousands of songs, including the Beatles catalog. And when his album Invincible came out in 2001, he accused them of not promoting his album good to lower his value in the company. So he then went on a public rant on the CEO and saying he was racist and the devil. That was something never before seen because people just got cucked by their record labels and could do nothing about it. Before social media, if you didn't have a record label pushing your music, there was an 100% chance you weren't gonna make it. So they could do anything to you and you just had to take it. Nowadays, it's a little better, but to be honest, it's still pretty ass. How many artists do you know that are complaining about their record label constantly? And somewhat of Michael Jackson's power doing this, when you think of it, was insane at the time. You can go to any remote village, and the one music artist they'll know no matter what is Michael Jackson. You have one of the biggest names in humanity on your company. That's gotta hurt. I know Sony's executive team were sweating bullets every time Michael went to talk bad on their names. When Michael Jackson died years later, though, Sony went ahead and got full ownership of his catalog anyways. The exact thing he didn't want to happen. People think companies like Amazon and Apple are bloodthirsty, but these music companies are the devil reincarnated. If they want something done, they can get it done. Which is why people say Sony gave MJ the farewell to his life. What's the chances of them feuding over this for years and them getting what they wanted after he died? I'm no conspiracy theorist.
Very sketchy.
That's a lie I am, and it's suspicious at the least. Next, we got Adidas versus Pumas. And I know what you're thinking. What the f, Tommy? But believe it or not, Adidas and Puma were started by two brothers who had a falling out. There would have been a universe where neither of these ever existed. One brother was named Adolf, not the one you're thinking of, and the other was named Rudy Dazzler. It started when they both founded a shoe company called Dazzler's Brothers Shoe Factory.
That's dope as fuck though that they both went on to be hella successful.
And it was actually kind of big for the time. Like, people wore their shoes at the Olympics. But eventually they had a falling out like all brothers do over some stupid. One of the brothers was more calm and worked on developing the shoes, while the other was hyper and focused on sales. Also, their wives hated each other, and as the old saying goes, if you can't get your in line, your relations will decline. That actually isn't an old saying, I just made it up, but I'm gonna use it more. They also had certain views on World War II while it was going on, and as brothers from Germany, of course, they both agreed with the actual Adolf. But if it makes you guys feel better, one of them...
I went there to that castle.
They also had certain views on World War II while it was going on, and as brothers from Germany, of course, they both agreed with the actual Adolf. But if it makes you guys
it's probably not that exact one. But I went to a castle that looked kind of like that.
Better, one of them did less, and that one ended up being Adidas. Maybe that's why they make the better shoe. Eventually, they ended up splitting up in 1948 and made Adidas and Puma. Their beef was so ingrained in their hometown that they got their own citizens beefing in it. It was either you aligned with the Adidas side or you aligned with the Puma side. People were looking each other up and down to see what shoes they had just to judge them. It was like the German Bloods and Crips. Imagine being caught on the wrong side of town with Puma shoes instead of Adidas and getting jumped by people fully dripped out in Adidas fits. No one even knows this beef for real because Nike came out and ended up becoming Adidas' main competitor. If we can even call it a competition, like Nike easily laps Adidas 5 times over. Sadly, the brothers never made up and both took the beef to their graves. They hated each other so much that they got buried in the same graveyard, but on opposite sides. Both of y'all are dead, man. Does it matter where you're buried? And last we got Bill Gates versus Steve Jobs. Two of the biggest tech leaders in the world beefing is not a surprise at all. Especially when you know how wild of a man Steve Jobs was. He was the Kanye of technology pretty much. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates liked each other at first though. Microsoft created software for one of Apple's old computers back in the day. But when Microsoft released Windows, Steve Jobs started spazzing out that they stole his designs. He might have been tripping because I think anyone can tell the difference between a Windows computer and a Mac. But then Bill Gates said they both stole it from another company anyway, so it doesn't matter. Which isn't that crazy of a philosophy. They're both assholes for doing it. Apple even ran an ad campaign against Windows, making fun of it, saying it's slow and bad in commercials. But I've had a MacBook before, and I can tell you, that color wheel scroll will make any lose his mind. Apple, you're no better. A slow Mac...
Nah, you ain't got your shit together. I'm a loyal Apple customer. I was about to say Mac, but it's not just limited to Mac. And you got to make sure you get the right amount of memory. You got to make sure, you know, your storage and stuff is up to par. If you get some little rinky-dink Mac, that's on you.
Book will have you taking 5 minutes to load up a browser. They both make fun of each other all the time. Steve Jobs would call Bill Gates uncreative, and Bill Gates would say Steve Jobs doesn't know anything about technology. Steve Jobs liked how Apple made its computer hardware and software, while Bill Gates liked how Microsoft created software that could be universally used. In the short term, Steve Jobs was right. You used to be him if you had a MacBook. But in the long term, yeah, Windows completely on Mac. It's not even close. At least this story has a somewhat happy ending because they made up after years of beefing. And when Steve Jobs passed away, Bill Gates gave him his flowers. Both of them are still terrible people though. Like Steve Jobs abandoned his kid and never paid child support while his ex-wife was paycheck to paycheck. Ooh. And he was a multi-millionaire. Bill Gates, as we all know, sure loved to fly to that island. But you know what? Shout out to both of them. I'm using a Windows computer to make this video and I do have an iPhone, so... Thanks, guys. That's all, everyone.
Oh, wow. This was really interesting. I didn't know about a lot of these beefs. Makes me want to look up the details of some of these situations. Because obviously he's doing a real quick summary. And he's trying to be funny. So, you know, he's probably throwing some extras in here. But, yeah, definitely got to look up some of this stuff. But, yeah, I like his videos. He's funny. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let me know what other videos you want to watch. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.